Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Tuesday, August 30th Board of County Commissioner meeting. Is Chaplain Jeff Cobrell here? Did I say your last name correctly? Cabrel. Sorry. And can you tell us what church you're with?
I'm with the Humanist Committee of the Space Coast.
Okay.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the chair and the rest of the County Commission for this opportunity this morning to offer an invocation on behalf of the non-religious and humanists of Brevard County. On behalf of all Brevard County residents, I wish to offer sincere thanks to you, county employees, staff, and volunteers for your hard work and commitment to this community. As we begin this morning, let us first take a moment to clear our minds and sharpen our focus. Our business here today is important, and it deserves our best efforts, intentions, and concentration. And second, moving forward today, let us endeavor to do so in the spirit of inclusiveness, fairness, respect, honesty, integrity, and love. Ever reminding ourselves and others that our common ground vastly outweighs our differences. Lastly, what is our business? I'd like to use a quote from Charles Dickens' character Jacob Marley. Business, mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. On behalf of the Humanist Community of the Space Coast, I thank you, and I leave you to do today's business.
Thank you. All right, and with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Commissioner Pritchett.
You guys would stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to move past E1 because Senator Wright's running a few minutes behind. And Commissioner Pritchett, E2.
Thank you, ma'am. Al? Mr. Al Thoralt, it's so good to have you in the chambers. You are such a force up in North Brevard, and I appreciate all you do. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to read this, and then if you want to say a few things, that would be wonderful. Whereas the United States Patriot Day occurs on September 11 of each year in memory of people killed in September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, where the first responders of New York City demonstrated the true meaning of the word hero as they went forward into known danger and helped rescue others. President George W. Bush proclaimed Friday, September 14, 2001 as National Day of Prayer and Remembrance for the victims of terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. And whereas Resolution 71 designates September 11 as Patriot Day and requests the President to issue a proclamation each year regarding the observation of Patriot Day and the display of the U.S. flag at half-staff in honor of individuals who lost their lives as a result of the terrorist attacks in September 11, 2020. Whereas Brevard County is blessed to have the same caliber of heroes in our first responders community, and Titusville Flag and Memorial Committee of Brevard County wishes to honor Patriot Day with a blue mass ceremony to be held September 10, 2022 at St. Teresa's Catholic Church in Titusville, Florida, which marks the 21st anniversary of the terrorist attacks. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of Brevard County, by the authority vested in us, proclaim thanking and honoring the Brevard County's current first responders for their service and dedication with a blue mass ceremony to be held September 10, 2022 at St. Teresa's Catholic Church in Titusville, Florida. Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve this proclamation.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Commissioner Pritchett, thank you. On September 11th, that demonstrated the fact that true heroes don't wear capes, they wear stars of life. They wear badges, they wear turnout gear. While thousands were exiting the Twin Towers in New York, hundreds of first responders were gathering and entering the towers. While Tower 1 was crumbling to the ground, first responders continued up the stairs of Tower 2. On that day, 405 first responders never went home to their families. On that day, 405 first responders lost their lives doing their job. On that day, 405 lives were cut short while saving the lives of others. Whenever I think of those 405 placing themselves in harm's way, I always hope at least once, as they were going up the stairs, somebody said, "Thank you." Somebody at least once said, "God bless you." Throughout my work with the Titusville Flag and Memorial Committee and the other associations that I belong to, I'm always amazed at our outpouring from the citizens and the elected officials for our military and our veterans. Our attendance in Memorial Day ceremonies, Veterans Day ceremonies, wreaths across America is outstanding. The support that our elected officials is always first rate. But then I look at our hometown heroes, our first responders, our law enforcement, our firefighters, and I'm a little disappointed. We are just not out there for them. Flag and Memorial Committee in Titusville is trying to help change that. We're setting aside one day where we can get together with our first responders and say thank you. One day we can say, God bless you. And it's not while they're forging headlong into danger as we're headed the other way, but it's at a time where we can sit and be with them. Many communities across the nation celebrate the Blue Mass each year in late September. Father Thomas Dade, chaplain of the Police and Firemen's Society in Washington, D.C., began the Blue Mass back in 1934. What was once a Catholic Mass, this ecumenical service is not meant to be a memorial service, but a thank you. And it is now in thousands of communities across the nation. This year, as said, we are at St. Teresa's Catholic Church on September 10th at 10 o'clock. We're looking for other churches to join us to offer their location. We need a big location because each year we fill the church, and it's awesome. This is our 4th year doing it. It is hoped that the Blue Mass Patriot service annually, the first Saturday after September 11th or the weekend of September 11th, will continue to grow. And wouldn't it be absolutely awesome if Brevard County was to be the first to proclaim Patriot Weekend for the weekend of September 11th? I'm here today to thank you for your support and to invite you to the ceremony. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Since this is, and I'm not sure if this is out of protocol or not, but we have 2 fine upstanding representatives from our law enforcement community. Can they come down and join us?
Madam Chair. You okay with that? We'd like to get the sheriff's name.
Oh, that's fine, of course. If they're okay with it, I'm okay.
Gentlemen, if you're okay with it, would you come down, please?
As you guys can tell, Al does a lot of public speaking.
Thank
Thank
again,
you so
Madam Chair.
much. All right, we also have minutes for approval.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Tobias. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I still don't see Senator Wright. So we'll move on to consent, and we'll come back once he gets here.
His representatives
Oh.
are there, ma'am, just so you know.
Are you guys just waiting? Okay, okay. All right, moving on to consent. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull F19 and F31, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, can I get a motion to approve consent minus F19 and F31? Motion by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I assume you'd rather have me start with F19, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. On August 24th, I met with BCA Executive Director Kathy Engeren and Chair Leah Blackmore in my office. They briefed me on the three functions of the BCA. That was art education in public schools, securing cultural grants, and facilitating exhibits for arts in public places. I have strong issues with the county financing each of these, and let me explain why. We're paying them to promote art education in public schools. Brevard Public Schools is an independent taxing authority who will have a $1 million increase on the ballot, generating up to $52 million. With the second one, cultural grants. The grants the BCA administers and workshop costs are funded with money given directly from the county. I looked at where these grants come from, largely from the state, and according to the Florida Department of State, these resources are already available and they're free. And I have a handout, I didn't do an overhead, but I have a handout from the state site where you can get those free resources. And finally, and this is probably the most egregious, even though it's the smallest amount, we are paying BCA administration costs to facilitate venues for arts in public places, private businesses. And when asked, the first one I got was Lexus of Melbourne. I'm not sure that the county should be subsidizing Lexus of Melbourne. They make great cars, but probably are not in need of public dollars. Unfortunately, it got worse. In addition, the BCA is requesting more money above the $210,120 contract. They are requesting an additional $5,000 for a BCA summit. This summit has already been scheduled. The room reserved and so forth for October 6, 2022. This is happening regardless of our $5,000 contribution. And I do have one handout, and this is unfortunately what probably bothered me the most here. They're asking for, they're asking for, you got it, $4,000 for an economic impact study. I don't know if anyone read the I know I'd never read the economic impact study, so I pulled a copy of it, and I actually pulled previous copies. They've done one in 2017, 2015, as well as 2014. Dr. Slotkin is the person who was contracted to do this economic impact study. He is already working in conjunction with the Office of Tourism to produce a magazine. It's listed on his Florida Tech website. So I think there's a conflict there, yet it's not declared. And here's where it gets egregious. You guys have a copy of this. We pay $4,000 for this economic impact study. I took a page from the 2014, 2015, 2017, and 2019. They are word for word the same. It is egregious that we would pay any money for what is a plagiarized, and yes, you can plagiarize yourself, a plagiarized study. They have access to a computer program in which they plug in some new numbers so that a couple of the tables are changed and the pictures are updated. But for $4,000 to plug in some numbers and use the exact same study material is criminal. And if I had any extra time, I certainly would alert FIT to this academic dishonesty. So what's the solution? My initial plan was to support hoteliers in the same way that we supported Driftwood, but the hoteliers, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, decided that that was not the correct way to go. So I think the best focus for this $220,000 is to work on affordable housing, as the chair has mentioned. To be clear, there is nothing that the BCA tangibly offers the Brevard County Commission can't handle itself. In other words, there would be no loss of service. I guess Lexus would maybe have to pay a little bit extra for their art, but that is no impact on any of us. So let me end with a positive, as I try to do when dealing with millennials. I have no issue with letting them extend their stay for 60 days as they requested to find a new location so we can move in our veterans services. So my motion is I move to reject the recommended funding and deny BCA professional service contract and to amend the Brevard Cultural Alliance lease to provide 60 additional days as requested after the expiration of their lease to vacate the Merritt Island Government Center. That's the motion, Madam Chair. I'm more than willing to discuss either the poor economic study or any of the other information that I've previously gone over.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Thank you, Commissioner Tobias. I met with the Brevard Culture Alliance over the last week. My concern with them is that I told them they're more of a local agency now instead of a county agency, that I don't get a lot of communication. So I think there is an issue with being equitable through the county. I mean, it's nice that you have paintings hung up, but I think that this probably would serve this agency better if they hooked up with a local city and start working with them for some funding for the things they do, because most of these things are kind of aggregated into a certain area. So I think that is something they probably need to work for. I'm okay with approving for another year, but not with an extra amount, the same as they did last year, and kind of put them on probation and see what they can do to kind of branch out a little bit more. I am in agreement with giving them an extra 60 days to find a new place to live. But that's kind of where I'm settled. Love to hear where you guys are, but I really want to put them on probation for a year and see what they come up with. And if we haven't branched out, it's probably going to be my vote at that time to move it off of our budget. So that's my thoughts.
Commissioner Smith? Any input?
Oops. Yeah, I can see both sides. Commissioner Pritchett makes the point that they're more city-related anyway. There's an awful lot of the county that they don't serve. And Commissioner Tobias, you make some good points with regard to the finances, especially the, I guess there's no pleasant way to say plagiarizing. When I was reading this, I started laughing before you made the point. 4,000, there's 4 years, that's 4,000 per, there's a jet ski right there. Just saying. I'd go along with Commissioner Pritchett's proposal, give them a year, and you guys can decide next year to cut the rope and give them an opportunity to do that. But I'd like to hear your point of view.
Madam Chair? Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank staff. This was initially a 5-year, and this got cut down to 1, so that's a positive. I think that Commissioner Pritchett may be right. Maybe we should wean these folks off of the government just a little bit, and hopefully they could transfer over. So I would be, I don't want to pay for another economic study in which they're cutting and pasting. I think that's absolutely, I guess I can guess what the 5th page on 2021's study will say.
I'll tell you what. I'll do the study for $1,000.
Yeah. So I'm just, if we were to cut 20% off the top and not add in any of those extra costs associated, this would give them the time to go out and get some other partners there. But if you're more amenable to 30% or 50% or 10%, hey, listen, anything would be a victory at this point. So Commissioner Pritchett, I will follow you whichever way you want to go on this one.
And, you know, I think obviously over the years, the BCA, I mean, they've got some new leadership. We're already making them find a new place, and there is value to a lot of the things that they do. I mean, and I don't want to diminish that. This money is from the tourism tax, it's not from our general fund. I mean, I would be in more agreement with where Commissioner Pritchett was initially. I mean, we're already going to reclaim our space in the government building, and I think that they're going to have to, you know, obviously come up with some rent or a mortgage for their next location. I think, you know, put them on notice and see how they do this year, and if they blow it, then they're answerable to that, and they may not get any funding from this board or any funding approved from this board, even if it's recommended by the TDC. That's kind of where I'm at.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
Okay, it looks like you're going to, Commissioner, can we give him a 10%? Would you be comfortable with a 10% cut? I mean, that'd give him the opportunity to go fill that. I mean, we're talking $20,000 to go figure ask Lexus for a couple extra bucks.
Well, see if you can talk Commissioner Zonka and Smith into that, but I think, I don't want to give them extra money. I agree with you on this, the 4 and the 5,000 need to come off. And then I agree with Commissioner Zonka on, we are making a move right now. So, but I'm really strongly motivated is if we don't get a more equitable distribution of this next year, I think they need to be ready to go and approach those cities they're working in more.
Madam Chair? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think there's a common ground here. Let me throw this out there. We cut out the extras, which were the 5,000, 4,000, and 1,300, and we imputed in the 212,000 was a 3% CPI increase. So we get rid of the 3%, so the contract is the exact same it is last year. So we didn't cut, but we're not providing them with as much money. They're vacating, we're giving them 60 extra days. That's something they asked for. I think that is decently equitable. And let them know that they need, as Commissioner Pritchett said, they need to go find other sources.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to throw them under the bus. I think that they add value to the community. I think the community needs to be well-rounded, and this is part of it. But I don't disagree with much of what Commissioner Tobias says. So I think Commissioner Pritchett has taken a modified perspective of that, and then next year I don't have to be part of the decision. So I'll vote whichever way you guys are voting, but I think it's something that's worthwhile going forward with.
Okay. Commissioner Tobias, do you want to make a motion?
Okay, Madam Chair, and I have to change the motion that I made here, so I'll rescind that motion and make a motion to continue the BCA contract for 1 year at its current dollar figure minus the CPI, and no extra dollars, that being the $5,000, the $4,000, and the $1,300, as well as extending the terms of the lease an extra 30 days. I think that
60
covers
days.
Sorry, 60 days. I apologize.
I thought you were trying to be sneaky.
Sorry, no, I was not. I apologize.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Senator Wright? We're going to squeeze them in, if that's okay with the board. Come on up.
How's everyone today?
Good.
Peachy
Good?
keen.
Peachy keen? Well, thank you for having me, Commission members. Thank you very much. I'm proud to be here today, allowing me this time to highlight the great work that is being done by the Brevard Reentry Portal. The Brevard Reentry Portal collaborates with the Florida Department of Corrections to provide released inmates with the tools necessary to becoming contributing members of the community. This organization has proven themselves to be a critical resource that benefits residents across all of Brevard County. And I'm proud to be able to provide you a check today from the state appropriations that we asked for in the most recent budget. This will allow the Brevard Reentry Portal to provide reintegration services that include employment, housing assistance, substance abuse, treatment, mental health referrals, and assistance with obtaining a valid Florida driver's license. So I'm very happy to provide you with and proud to give you a check today for $750,000 for the Reentry Portal. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Pritchett?
How are you?
Senator Wright, I'd like to thank you for always fighting for our area. You do such a good job. And in front of my peers, I want to state you're such a brilliant and kind person. And I'm really thankful that we have you protecting us in the state of Florida and working for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you want to take a picture with the check at
Sure.
all? Or? Sure. That'll work? That'll work. Step right in.
I would take big check pictures. Yeah, I'm getting out of the way.
Y'all gonna crowd in like that over here?
Look at me real quick for the picture.
Perfect.
Commissioner Tobias, F31.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is about a TDC appointment, and Commissioner Smith made a very astute observation here, and I certainly want to thank him and commend him for finding an inconsistency with our code as it's related to state statute. Commissioner Smith's appointment would even out the calculation back to 3 appointees from each required category as you're replacing, or as he's asking to replace an owner-operator with someone involved in the tourism industry. That would be replacing Julie Braga with Don Dionatis. However, I think there's a better way to achieve this instead of prematurely removing a hardworking individual who has done a good job by all accounts on the TDC. I suggest we rewrite our code to reflect state statute. Let me tell you about the current TDC member. They rejected my equitable marketing proposal to reallocate TDT dollars to benefit their own businesses. They stated during the meeting that the better approach was a community advertising instead of to their individual businesses. And I wish Driftwood would have come with that same approach, but then they're not part of our community. And let me tell you what also would make me a little bit awkward here. The item originally required a supermajority vote because of a signed voting conflict. This was filed by Mr. Dionatis as the Chief Executive Officer of USSSA at the direction of the county attorney in an abundance of caution. Mr. Dionatis was not legally required to complete this form at the time, but will have to in the future should the USSSA receive additional grants, county contracts, or county funding. Mr. Dionatis agreed to sign the form, a clear indication that he understands that his new position could benefit him personally or that of his organization. And for that reason, I think it's probably a lot easier to rework our code to match state statute instead of playing games with the folks that are currently there. So make a motion for legislative intent and permission to advertise to change Brevard County Code of Ordinance, Section 102, 120, Section A, 3, and 4 to reflect the membership requirements of Florida Statute Section 125.0104, Section 4E, stating that no less than 3, no more than 4 shall be owners or operators of motels, hotels, recreational vehicle parks, or other tourist accommodations in the county and subject to the tax. This would get us in alignment with the state, and we wouldn't have to play musical chairs with any of the TDC membership. So that's nothing against any of these folks on here. It's just probably easier to align with state instead of switch folks around. That's the motion. I'm willing to answer any questions should there be any.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Thank you, Commissioner Tobias. That probably be a very good thing if we get ourselves in line with where we're supposed to be. A couple comments on this. I do want to say that I think Mr. Donatus is going to be a great asset to that board. He's going to bring in a little bit more of a balance to what we have going on in the county as far as trying to get some of the more of the tourist tax dollars. I am still working towards get someone to represent North Brevard, and I do realize that I have to get a hoteler now because we have to have that evened out. So I'm working on it. Mr. Protzi, even though he's over the whole thing, he doesn't directly do that. So I'm working on another avenue. Just a reflection of what I heard at the last TDC meeting is that everything still talks about Cocoa Beach, Melbourne area. Not that it's not a good area, but there's not enough variety there. I mean, they're talking about the launch, and they talk about Cocoa Beach being the place for the launch, and I'm thinking, where's Titusville? Where's North Brevard yelling there? And they're talking about bioluminescence. They're talking about Melbourne being the place to be, and I have no Haulover Canal is like the biggest place to see it. So again, this isn't personal as I'm making changes. It's about getting a voice for North Brevard on the board, and I'm going to work hard for doing that. And commissioners, I keep encouraging you if you would, and Commissioner Zonk, I think you're a little low on the love too as far as the funding, that we keep working towards getting some voices in there so it's a little more equitable through the county. Not that they're not wonderful, doing a good job up there, but this is a big county and it's a great place for the tourists to come visit. So I'm going to be working on that soon. I'm hoping to have someone here shortly. But I do also want to let you guys know that we're supposed to be changing out board members October 1 and not in December. We've been behind the, pardon?
It's October 8th now.
October 8th. So I think this is the time, if you guys want to get ready, if you want to look at how you want to do a little bit more diversity on the board, I think that's the date I'm going to target for of getting somebody in for North Brevard rep.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I don't have any objection to making our statute, or whatever it is an ordinance or a statute, identical to the state. It makes sense to me. I picked Donnie D. Donatus. I know one of the common thoughts in the county, at least amongst TDC people, is that I removed my current person on that board because of some things that she said. I didn't agree with what she said, but at the same time, as I told her in person, I don't really like having people working for me that have the same opinion as me all the time, because then I don't learn anything. So I didn't have an issue with that. And in fact, I had made the decision to remove her a week before she made those comments. So I just want to make everybody aware of that. This is not retribution on my part because she said some things that, you know, I wasn't particularly fond of. And Donnie, he represents USSSA, which brings in upwards of 100,000 room nights into this county. Julie Braga is, in fact, part of the management team of a hotel in the county. But they don't bring in 100. She doesn't bring in 100,000 room nights. Donnie is right at the top of what's going on in this county, and TDC benefits greatly from his business being here, his company being here, and what they do here. So I just thought he would be a tremendous asset, and that's why I've appointed him.
And I'll just say, as much as we reach out to our legislature, maybe we need to reach out to them to see if they would be willing to bring forward changes to the requirements for the board, because the board by design is one big conflict. If you have a board full of hoteliers, nice guys or not, they're going to be in their own, they're going to make decisions for their own special interests. So, I mean, most business people would. So I think, perhaps the legislature bringing forward some changes in the state, statute that would allow for a more broad acceptance of members that would qualify. Because I'll take a look at the board, because I think my appointment's up in October as well. I'll take a look and I'll try to fill in that void if we're short a collector versus a hotelier or whatever. I'll try to make sure that we're in alignment, but I would just say reach out to your state reps, or maybe it can come from the board to say, if you're a collector of the tax, or if you're, directly impact the collection of that tax, then you would have at least a say on that board. And that way we wouldn't be in these constant conflicts and these battles with people that only care about one portion of the county, which has always been the battle, right? I mean, I want North Brevard to, we can talk about bikinis and beaches, but honestly, I didn't see anybody rushing here to come to the beach to see a bunch of girls in bikinis. They were coming here to see Artemis, so I don't know. I think that we need to rethink that, and we need to bring something back.
Sounds good.
So I'll make a motion to approve this appointment.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Pritchett to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1.
Madam Chair.
Sure?
I had a motion on the table. It's fine. I think there might have been some support. This was the motion I made had nothing to do with the appointment itself. That's aside, the person's been appointed. This was just to bring us in line with state statute. It's permission to advertise. Can I put that motion out there again and see if I get a second on that one?
Second that.
Okay. You want me to repeat the motion?
I don't think you need to. I think they can probably go back and
And I gave him a copy. Again, it's only permission to advertise. This just copies state and gets us in line.
Could we include in that motion, some language that, we're going to ask our legislature to loosen the,
I will be more than willing to give you authority to do that. And the nice
Okay.
thing is, if we mirror state statute, as soon as they change state statute, ours would be changed as well.
I know,
So-
but if we want to be in compliance.
Yeah, but again, if we mirror state statute and then state statute changes and we are the same as state statute, then would
Right.
need no motion of the board to do that. So the same motion as before, with the addition to give the chair authority to draft a document on behalf of the board to send to the delegation, asking for more flexibility for the composition of the TDC board.
Do you want me to bring that back as part of your next agenda item, or do you want me just to?
Madam Chair,
Copy you.
I trust you
Okay.
to certainly
okay
give
with
you
that?
authority to draft that and send it out to the entire delegation.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to public comments. Robert Burns.
Morning, Commissioners. Robert Burns, Vieira. I completed the economic impact study while sitting here, and I'll sell it for $500 instead of $1,000. Much like Commissioner Pritchett was speaking about equal representation on the TDC, I think it's even more so important to have it on the commission itself. I sent out an email yesterday, and I know it was probably late, and I'm not sure if everyone got a chance to see it, so I just wanted to come speak about that, talking about our vacancy that we have here on the commission. Back in April, we lost a chair both figuratively and literally, and we haven't had any representation since then for District 2. Now that the primary election has been decided, we've been waiting for the governor to make an appointment to that District 2 seat. And as I mentioned during the Charter Review Commission, I think the Florida statute requires that he fills that appointment. I don't think he has the discretion to not fill it. I think it was prudent, or I think it was wise to wait till after the election to not maybe influence that election to make that appointment. But now that that election is over, I think it would be beneficial to the county and the people of District 2 to make that appointment now so that we have some representation in District 2 that we've been lacking since April. I think that the commission may be able to compel the governor to go ahead and make that appointment with just a simple letter making the request and kind of explaining the current situation with the electorate before doing anything more aggressive. And I think that the citizens also have standing to be able to bring some kind of cause of action, civilly if they wanted to take that approach too. But I think we could just have the board, ask that you go ahead and make this appointment so that we don't have to wait another few more months while board businesses continue to take place. That's all.
Commissioner Pritchett?
I think you're right on a lot of levels, sir, and I always like hearing what you have to say. How would you guys feel about it? Because I don't disagree with them. The only problem is you can't get in the way of the election that's coming up now. So I wouldn't mind maybe sending a letter to the governor asking if he would reappoint Commissioner Barfield to sit in the next couple months until they have other representation. So how do you guys feel about that? I'm not real sure that we get a response to it, but it would be appropriate because Barfield already kind of knows what he's doing, so he doesn't have to get in and figure it out either. So anyways, leave it up to you guys what your thoughts are.
Commissioner Tobias?
I'm not opposed to the idea. I think the more limiting, though, we send to the governor's office, the less likely we are to get a response. So I think if the board decides to go in that direction, I certainly would support. And I'll support even asking, former Commissioner Barfield to do it. I just think I think it's very unlikely that we get a response as is. But when we say, hey, we'd like such and such, I think it's even less likely. But I'll support anyone on either of these giving the chair the authority to write that so we don't have to come back, and it could happen as soon as possible if the governor decides to go in that direction.
I think we've already asked his office to appoint. We didn't get a response last time. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I would like to echo Mr. Burns and Commissioner Pritchett. I think that it's incumbent upon our governor to make us whole, and I can understand his reluctance to get involved if that was his reason that he hasn't done so already. But I think that that's been removed. With all due respect to Dontavius here, I don't think it would be influencing the election at all if he were to appoint the winner of the primary, and Tom Goodson would be a good representative, even if Dontavius wins and takes the seat, because we have an issue coming up later that involves District 2, and I think it's imperative that District 2 has representation on this board. It's extremely important for them, and it's not, I don't think it's incumbent, unless it's an emergency, that we as commissioners do anything with District 2. I just think that they need that representation, and it's not up to us to make those decisions for them, again, unless as I said before, if it was an emergency. So I would like to make a motion that we authorize you, Commissioner, Big Boss, to compose some kind of a letter to Governor DeSantis pointing out the fact that we're in desperate need of coverage and
We kind of did that
representation.
already.
Yeah, but
And
that
we
was,
explained why and supermajority, and we went into all of those details and
Right.
basically begged for an appointment.
but I think that may have played into his decision, if he did make that decision consciously, that we didn't have an election. and he didn't want to influence District 2 because there were so many people running for that office.
But there's still
Certainly-
two
certainly-
people running now.
Yeah, but it certainly can't hurt to ask. So I would make a motion that we do that.
Did you have a motion? Or
No,
did you?
I
Okay.
just want to input from you guys. Well, what if even, Chair, you just send out the same letter? Maybe it'll just rise to the top to him this time, and he can just take a peek at it and think about it again. I'm not above nagging.
Yeah.
I don't have any objection to that. I don't remember what the letter said, but I'm assuming it's along the same
We
lines.
could change the date.
Yeah.
Okay,
For $1,000, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it for 500.
We'll do a study. Yeah, and I guess just with the opportunity to modify it as appropriate.
Sure, that'll work.
Okay, and, all right. Thank you. So, motion in a second? Or do you still have a motion on the floor? I think Commissioner Smith has a motion on the floor.
To write a letter, did you make a motion prior to that?
No, I was confused. It's probably you.
Okay.
I'm going to second whatever you say, so
Okay.
have fun.
I was going to say, get what you want.
Okay.
So, motion that we send out the similar letter?
And give you the discretion to
Make
modify the
Within
original
reason?
letter.
Okay,
Appropriate,
all right.
appropriately
I
modified.
have a motion and a second. Is that kind of clear? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Miss Amy Elliott.
Sorry, you
It's
got it to
okay.
me a lot faster than I thought you would. My name is Amy Elliott. I live at 1169 Overcash Drive, Dunedin. But I have been here before as a member of the Brevard community. My daughter goes to school here. I brought her here before. She's a member of the soccer team that just got in at 3 o'clock in the morning from Wyoming. The reason why I've been here before in front of you is because I work for a company called Y-Green, and we provide what's called PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing. I watched the meeting last time, and I was stunned to see what was being portrayed about my program from the dais up here. The public comments that I saw, or the comments that I saw about our property owners that were late on their payments, and their address and the picture of their homes, I thought was ridiculous. And as somebody that spent a ton of money to send my kids here, somebody that has paid wages through rent, through sales tax, through the investment that we've made in the community, I wanted to set some information straight. We have a lot of issues in front of us as property owners, as business owners. Interest rates are going up. It makes it harder for businesses like mine to get affordable financing out to property owners, but we're doing our best. Insurance rates. As we all know, we're in the middle of an insurance crisis, and a lot of people are having trouble staying in their insurance policies. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Rent is going up. Inflation is going up. And what I'm hearing is that there's been no changes to the program that we've worked really hard to provide to residents in Brevard. And that's just not true. We've added a soft credit pull to our financing so that property owners that go through PACE have no ding on their credit whatsoever. Not the debt to income ratio, not the inquiry at all. We've added protections for seniors. We do second calls in the beginning and at the end for people over 75. We make sure property owners are having their permits closed. We also have added condo and HOA financing so that we don't see another Surfside, so that contractors can get access to funding for things like fire prevention and other things for condos and HOAs. And we also have added unsecured financing, meaning we don't only offer PACE anymore. We offer financing for people that have the credit and want to do a monthly rate. So what we were told before is just not correct. I'm here on behalf of myself as a contractor or as a business owner in Brevard, but I did want to share with you real quick some comments that I've had from people that live here, that appreciate the program because they're not being heard. I got a comment after helping someone get an AC. she sent me an email, which I thought was really nice. Good morning, Amy, and thank you for making a bad situation great. I was impressed with your team and am very grateful for the entire process that was so easy and seamless. And I look forward to doing business with you again. I hope that she can. Thank you.
Commissioner Tobias?
Matt, one quick question.
Amy?
Amy?
Yes,
sorry.
I'm not here on behalf of Wide Green.
That's fine.
So I don't
That's
want
fine.
to put this out there that I'm, interfering with your
We'll
discussions.
disregard, we'll disregard your shirt. And I understand, I wouldn't want my dirty laundry laid to bear up there. And I'm sorry you're disgusted with that. And the number was redacted on all of those addresses, so it's just a street. But
actually-
my question was this,
Okay.
just one quick question. Was any of that stuff not factual?
It was misleading because.
No. My question was any of that, it was all public record. That stuff was all taken off the property appraiser and the tax collector's site. Verbatim. I didn't change any of it. My question was, any of it not factually correct?
What you used was the information that we record with the county clerk that actually shows the amortization and the amount that's going to be paid overall. We have no prepay penalty. So if a property owner wants to pay this down, they can make another payment outside of the tax bill. They can also pay it off ahead of time. So what you showed was the amortization after 10 or 20 years, whatever the terms were, and implied that's what people were charging. So an HVAC system that would have been like $6,000, you put it up there like it was 13 or 14 and said, look how much that is compared to what the value of that home was. That's not accurate. I mean, yes, it's accurate. It's factually accurate.
That's all I was looking for. There's something
information.
called truth in, Madam Chair, there's something called truth in financing. I don't know if you've ever financed a car. I don't, because I tend to play cash for
Yeah.
things. But if you do, the federal government requires you, and I understand because your financing is so suspect, it doesn't even qualify for many federal loans. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac totally disregard it. But you have to add how much it will cost. In fact, if you get a credit card statement, there's something at the top that says, if here's the minimum payment, if you just make the minimum payment, here's what your total payment were. That's exactly what I did off that. I took it right off of public record and I put it up there. And the fact that you think that that's misleading probably tells me you're not telling the consumers, hey guys, here's what you're going to end up paying for this,
the
which
cost of
scares
an-
me even more.
If the cost of
But
an
I just
HVAC system-
I just wanted to get to something was that I understand you're disgusted, and you know what? I was disgusted too. But I wanted to make sure that you didn't think anything was
You bring up a
taken-
good point. If they use their credit card, they don't get to cure it. If you are late on a payment, they're going to either increase your rates.
Madam Chair, I
But
think the
with-
board discussed this. Here's the other thing. If you use your credit card, they don't take away your home, okay? And the problem is that stuff's attached to their bill. The board already decided on this, and I think we are a little more thanks to Commissioner Pritchett, who had a great idea when it came to commercial, because they were a little more savvy to opening up to that. So I appreciate it. Love your passion for your business, and hopefully your daughter did extremely well at soccer in Wyoming. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Ms. Sullivan?
Good morning, Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So I was a little bit concerned about the consent item F2. I'm just going to read the last sentence. Lastly, the code amendment exempts sewer lift stations, sewer vacuum stations, and other water and sewer utility infrastructure elements from the site plan review. That just concerns me, and I just want to tie this into a bigger issue. In the years I've been coming to these meetings, my biggest concern for the county is the impact fees, which are the share, of course, of the developers paying their share of infrastructure. They have not been updated in nearly 2 decades. This compounded with the issue of inflation, which has increased the cost of infrastructure substantially. I believe the new dump that is being developed was in the original meeting when that was approved in May of '21, was going to cost $25 million. I think the current version of that cost is upward around $75 million, a threefold increase. And so when we're looking at infrastructure, I think it's very prudent for the county to consider an impact fee study to figure out what we should be paying, what the developer should be paying in terms of impact fees. Recently, you approved a 58-acre development on Port St. John Sewage Treatment Plant, which is at 86% capacity. 4 months earlier, I had done a records request, and it was at 85% capacity. So obviously, we're growing a great deal. Concurrency issues with the state suggest that over 85%, we shouldn't be adding development. Who is going to pay for that new sewage treatment plant or that sewage treatment plant expansion? And we don't want it to be the people. We want the developers to pay their fair share. So going back to 2016, the last time that my records requests show that an impact fee study was done for transportation, that recommended a 66% increase. Obviously, I've been going to the TPO meetings. It seems like the same roads are at the top of the list for being expanded and road work. And so there, even an article last year in Florida Today, there's a deficit on transportation monies for impact fees. So I would urge this county commission to prioritize the adjustment of impact fees, have an impact fee study so that we do not come back and tax the people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's it for public comment cards. Moving on to public hearings, item H1.
Good evening, Madam Chair, or good morning, I should say. Item H1 is an approval of an ordinance amendment to Chapter 110, Division 3, amending subsection 11-141. Just to recap, this amendment would remove the capacity reservation fee credits being applied as they're prorated per year, and the fee would just be a standing fee with no credit.
All right, Commission?
Make a motion to approve it.
I have a motion to approve. Commissioner Pritchett?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item J1.
Morning, Commissioners. Item J1 is a request for you to vote on filling a membership position on our Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Membership is defined by statute. One of the categories that we're asking you to fill is for a citizen who is actively engaged as an advocate for low-income persons in connection with affordable housing. We advertise in the newspaper, on the website, and also put out press releases seeking and soliciting applicants. We had 2 new applicants come forward, and the existing member who's been on the board since 2013 has also requested to stay on. If that existing member is pushed forward from the board, it would require a supermajority vote.
Okay, I have one card. Dontavius?
Good morning. Octavia Smith, Cocoa, Florida. This is more so in reference to the affordable housing issue and the affordable housing committee at the same time, 2 birds in 1 stone type of issue. Being that I am the author and the creator of the Operation Leg Up program, which I proposed 3.5 months ago while I was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I just want to ensure Brevard County citizens that there's no CRAs, there's no charter review commissions, except for Jordan Chandler, respectfully to him, no county commission, no Brevard County Housing and Human Services personnel has proposed or done anything that says that affordable housing or a homeless issue was a problem and we have a solution. So I was going to reiterate what I proposed 3.5 months ago, so to make show Brevard County citizens that ain't nobody else in Brevard but Tay propose something for you. So I'm going to reiterate what I said. This proposed program would get citizens empowered, employed, and equipped with the necessary tools needed to pursue happiness in Brevard County. Now, if you needed a comprehensive approach, you should have just asked me. I would have gave it to you in a week. You didn't have to ask CRAs to get it to you in 60 days. But anyways, nonetheless, number one, I asked to establish a housing and homeless trust fund, which Jordan Chandler, respectfully, your appointment, he made it happen along with the other commissioners and the Charter Review Committee. Number one, you did that. The resources allocated from this fund, which from my perspective, will come from the medical marijuana dispensary and the physician tax that we charge physicians to charge their clients. Part of that, as well as the tourism tax and the local construction tax, which will help implement this program. Number two, create the voucher program, which will ensure that citizens from college graduates, veterans, senior citizens, and families that are lacking economic that are living in economic poverty, this program will provide housing, transportation, education, and health vouchers to help those citizens. Number three, which will ensure the Brevard County will be employed and making adequate salaries and I think the guy who just stood up, Senator Wright in the program donating $750,000 to the reinsurance program to make sure those offenders get adequate services, mental health-wise and employment-wise. This program will help that. But finally, and I think most importantly, the perspective of the initiative will get Brevard County will donate land to developers to help this occupation and this program to be accommodated. So with that being said, I just want to make sure that CRAs and the Brevard County, whoever else trying to come up with this advisory council, come up with any ideas, Taylor Mayor did it first. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. I love you in America. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Ian?
Thank you, Commissioners.
What's the verdict?
I have your ballots in front of me. There are 2 votes for Mr. Robert Klimkowski, 1 vote for Ina Fritsch, I do not know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and 1 vote for Verdell Shackelford. So the majority is for Mr. Klimkowski. If there is a motion and a vote.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve Mr. Klimkowski for the appropriate board.
Motion by Commissioner Tobias. Can I get a second? I'll second that motion. I believe that, and the reason being is I think we need to have a different approach. We've had the same person on there for 9 years, and I'm sure she served honorably, and that's sort of where I was going with it. And I know he's pretty passionate about affordable housing, and to hear him speak on it, I believe that he'll be all in. So that's kind of why I supported him, if that helps at all. Yep, Commissioner Pritchett?
I do want to mention, if Verdell hadn't been there so long, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll go with that if that's what y'all want to go with. I do like Mr. Robert when he shows up some and brings some comments. The other applicant, though, I had a lot of favor for as well. If I would have thought we could have got Verdell in, I definitely would have picked her. But just a thought, we already had one other person with Verdell, so if you guys are I don't know if I talk you into it, I think you're kind of set, Commissioner. So.
Who would you favor?
I would probably pick Verdell, but she's already been on the board a long time, but she shows up and she brings a lot to the table. So I think you guys have already wanted Robert, and I liked Robert on there too, so.
All right, we'll have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
How did you vote? I didn't hear you.
I hate nay in it, but I don't know if I could get y'all to do Verdell again.
I won't do it. I mean, she's been on there 9 years, and
Yeah.
she's a fine human being. But
Yeah.
I think, we've talked about term limits over and over again, and I think 9 years, I think she needs to let somebody else have the opportunity to offer some ideas.
Okay.
Who's our third?
Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just voted for Mr. Klimkowski because he threw his name out there for election, and I really appreciate folks that do that. I can't support someone that has been there longer than the term. I'd be more than willing to go with the other person. My affection for Mr. Klimkowski was only because I'd heard his name and I knew very little, if anything, about the other applicant. So I'm more than willing to switch to the other applicant if that gets us 3 votes. Ina Fritch. I don't know that person.
Okay.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
She was the one I checked on the square one, just turned them
We're going to
in.
make the motion.
Okay. Make a motion for Ina.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Smith. And the reason why I'm not going to support this is because we had 2 commissioners who put Klimkowski as their choice, and we're going against that. So just on principle, I don't think that's right.
Well,
But it'll pass if you're going to support Ina.
I was
or whatever.
one of those too, and I'm only switching just because I think if we don't do it, we have the same person. We would have the same person on there because we already voted and we only got 2. So I mean, we can punt it over to Ian and find out what happens if it goes in a 2-2. Do we end up with the same person?
Actually, my contingency, if it was a tied vote, I have a blank ballot with only 2 lines, and there would be a second vote for the tied individuals to try and get to a final.
Madam Chair, if you're stuck on this, listen, this isn't a cross I want to die on. If is this something that can wait till we get a 5th commissioner to, or are we under some sort of statutory or federal requirement to fill this?
I believe we can probably wait because of the action in the consent with the reappointments. I believe we have the ability to get to a quorum without this one filled. This will leave 4 vacancies on an 11-member board, which leaves me 7 members.
So we can leave it vacant.
I'm more than willing to do. I'm open on this one.
I think it's more fair.
Okay.
Works for me.
All right, so I guess there's no motion on
A motion to postpone the vote till such a time that we have a tie-breaking 5th member board.
And
Just-
at that point, we can open up the applications again, I guess, for that
We
slot?
can re-advertise
Yeah.
between now and then, and we'll let the individuals who applied this time also know to reapply. For just a point of clarification,
That their Board of County Commissioners are crazy, then we didn't appoint anybody?
that is not how I would put it.
Yeah.
But just a point of clarification, I believe the ordinance on boards allows for the member to continue until they are replaced. So would that be appropriate to have Ms. Shackelford continue until
Yes.
the replacement?
Do you want her to stay until she's replaced, or do you want the seat to seat vacant?
She's really good.
She can be angry.
She brings a lot to the table.
For quorum's sake, it's probably best to have the person stay, is it not?
I would say yes, but it's a board decision.
All right.
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't believe so because it's in the ordinance, but I just wanted to make sure I understood and the board was clear about that happening.
Okay. So I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item J2.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'll pass it out. On August 16th, the board resolved that there was ambiguity in statutory language found in Florida Statute 1011.73, Sections 1 and 2 regarding district millage election. The question being, why do these resolutions even come before us? At the meeting, the board discussed sending a letter to the Brevard delegation to request a statutory amendment to achieve one of the 2 outcomes, so we wouldn't go through that same. The 2 are as follows. The statute intends for this as a pass-through to be administrative. The amendment request is to be removed from the Board of County Commissioners from the process and let the school board put the tax directly on the referendum. And if the intent is behind the statute was given to the commission to authorize or to approve or reject the resolution, then it needs to be amended, giving us such power. The board was amenable to have a letter with that request. This is the letter. It's in the agenda. I would much rather have that come from a board as a whole than me as an individual. So that's the request, Madam Chair. The motion is to approve the attached letter on behalf of the board and direct staff to send a copy to each member of the Brevard delegation along with the attached reference statute.
Commission? All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias. Second by Commissioner Pritchett. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I think we pretty much discussed it last time. Item J3. Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you. On August 4th, the board discussed sending letters to businesses within unincorporated Brevard County to bring awareness of the passage of Ordinance 2022-20 relating to Brevard Self-Certified Business Registry. I brought this forward as a draft letter to municipalities, and I've since learned that it is irrelevant as the ordinance covers both incorporated as well as unincorporated. The draft letter, which you have seen, encourages privately owned businesses to utilize the self-certification business registry to prohibit sexual offenders and predators from entering their business. I'm open to any suggestions about the letter that was attached. I've also included a list of businesses located in unincorporated as well as incorporated Brevard, which I've provided the addresses, and I've gone one step further. As you see here, I've got the addressed envelopes here ready to go out to those businesses. My office will also follow up with these businesses to make sure they receive the letter and see if they have any questions. But I would like to authorize the chair to send any future letters to business owners without board approval. So I make a motion to approve the attached letter on behalf of the board and direct staff to send a signed copy to each attached business along with provided address envelopes, return envelopes, and self-certification application that I have already provided for convenience. Also, giving my office authorization to call the businesses listed in the spreadsheet, letting them know about the letter and finding out if they have any questions. The staff has already done a good job giving the application available online, and we're ready to go. We just need to get the message out there. So that's the motion, Madam Chair. I'm open to any amendments.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias.
Second. And
Second by Commissioner Pritchett. I have a card.
I also want to tell you good work on this. Thank you for running with it.
Mr. Slusher?
Good morning, Agent Slusher in Titusville. I am here today speaking on behalf of me, myself, and I for this. First, for clarification, I am in support of this, and in fact, I'm hoping to be able to broaden it tenfold for you. Specifically, the connected ordinance that's with this on the agenda, Section 74-102.5, it says, talking about what qualifies, it says the businesses that are used for recreational purposes and has an area where children regularly congregate. I would like to ask the legal clarification because specifically under Brevard County Muni Code land development regulations, certain zoning classifications, certain businesses are required to have sections of open space. Open space, as defined by Brevard County law or Brevard County ordinances, is defined as a common open space, meaning a total amount of improved area, including outdoor space set aside and designated on a site development plan as recreational space. So my question is, what percentage of a business because different zoning classifications need different percentages of open space. So what percentage of a business must be recreational or must be open space in order for a business to qualify for this? Specifically, just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking here, the house I'm working on right now is a vacant home in an apartment complex. The apartment complex is old. It has no playground. It has nothing that would qualify. But the site development has tons of open space that the kids play regularly. I would like to know, for all the businesses out there, if a site like this would qualify, because it's an open space where recreation happens, where kids are out every day while I'm working. That's why I like getting houses and facilities like this, because it's just good. Would this qualify under Brevard County legalities? That is the question, because I think if it does, it opens this up to property management, apartment complexes, and a lot more to help with this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm not opposed to expanding it. The goal was just to mirror parks, and that is the definition we took to mirror the definition already encumbered in state statute. So I'd be more than willing to look at expanding that. But right now, it was much cleaner to, and again, I've got hundreds of envelopes up here, so it's a good starting point, and hopefully we can move forward with it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item J4, Commissioner Tobias. And I'll just say I obviously can't discuss nor vote on this issue, and I will sign the correct form accordingly.
Well, Madam Chair,
Matt, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to interject that I just wanted to make Commissioner Tobias aware that what I've said several times with regard to not making decisions without a representative from D2 here, I feel the same way about this. So just so you know in advance.
Commissioner
Madam Chair,
Tobias?
great. Well, first of all, we have to make decisions, unfortunately, when we don't have a full slate up here. That's our responsibility. Sticking our head in the sand is, I guess, a decision to be made.
Unless it's an emergency, it's not sticking anybody's head in the sand.
And Madam Chair, I think you're going to find out you may actually have a voice on this one because of some changes. On July 19th, the board unanimously directed staff to begin the process. Commissioner Smith, you were involved in that vote of amending the MIRA boundaries to remove the Health First complex. August 23rd at the Vieira complex, I met with the county manager, assistant county manager, Larry Lallo, and Mr. Marcus Herman. I was very impressed with Mr. Herman's dedication and his love to his community. I proposed a compromise that would leave Health First in the MIRA boundaries, thus allowing the chair to vote. I believe that if 20% of the TIF dollars were set aside for parks, 20% were set aside for affordable housing, 20% for infrastructure, and the remaining 40% be fit into one of those silos or administrative costs.
Can you say those percents again?
And I'm not stuck on these percents, so I'll say it again. 20% for parks, hopefully with that intent of the school board allowing us to a long-term lease. Anyway, 20% for affordable housing, 20% for infrastructure for a total of 60%. The remaining 40% would have to fit in one of those three silos or administrative costs. Again, I'm not stuck on any of those. That was just the first gap. Of course, you know, signs, facade grants, that stuff would be expressly prohibited, even though statute may refer to those as infrastructure. Good meeting. 2 days later, MIRA had a board meeting, and the compromise was discussed. I wasn't on mute, and Mr. Golden showed up, and I yelled Ian's name embarrassingly, but I want to give my appreciation to him. I didn't ask him to be there. He just magically appeared talking about his area of affordable housing and how it could be leveraged. Despite the hard work of Mr. Herman, the MIRA board was strongly against the idea of dedication of funds. The board made a useless motion and was passed to investigate this matter. MIRA was established November 15th, 1998. Over the last 34 years, I did the math, MIRA has set aside $0 for affordable housing. I think it's important for us to take action in the absence of MIRA making any meaningful reform to a 10-year-old master plan. And let me tell you why. How can we ask other CRAs, we all sent a letter to the other CRAs asking them to address affordable housing in the next 60 days, and the one CRA we have somewhat control over, we're gonna stick our heads in the sand and say, we're not gonna make a decision. This sends an absolute bad message, a contradictory message to every other CRA that you have to get it done in 60 days, but we're not going to. Waiting to District 2 is not something we have the ability to do. This plan allows for flexibility. There are some fresh perspectives that can be taken. A large portion of TIF is being redirected for the Sea Ray Bridge. That may be an ability to bring it back into the MIRA funding scheme. And I want to be very clear, this has nothing to do with other CRAs that the county has control over, that being, in-beds, for example, may be against CRAs, but by all accounts, in-beds is far more focused and effective and not putting up the signs and advertising it that was greatly disturbing me. So I'd like to make a motion, and this motion would move to direct staff to begin the process to update the CRA master plan with dedicated funding of 20% parks. Again, I'm open to this, 20% affordable housing, 20% for infrastructure, and the remaining 40% on one of the three silos or administrative costs, with certain prohibitions and accounting for current obligations, with a draft available to us at the next board meeting, September 13th, 2022. So that's the motion, Madam Chair. That's why it's important. And again, we're not making a vote other than directing staff to bring us back. But we have to, if MIRA is not going to act, we have to act in their absence. And I don't know what that action is, to provide them with this plan and say, we expect you to do this, to kick them out and us take over if they're not going to take this seriously, or do away with it. And I don't want to do that. This plan provides them with the most flexibility and provides with a dedicated funding source to affordable housing. Their meeting, they talked about how wonderful affordable housing was, but then did not dedicate 1 penny to it. So I was very disappointed. Again, the chair did an extremely good job, the same way that you do a good job with a diverse population here. He had a very, very, very diverse population and handled it extremely well. But again, the outcome was not as effective as I hoped it would otherwise be. So that's the motion. I'm more than willing to amend any of those numbers, but I think we should at least get the ball rolling on this one, and this doesn't obligate us to anything other than putting forward a staff to get us back a draft on this.
And just to circle back around, you are not requesting a change in boundaries?
Madam Chair, absolutely not. So
Okay.
this leaves the
So then
new
I can
facility in
vote
there.
on this, correct? Yes, okay. Commissioner Pritchett?
I did a lot of homework on this, Commissioner Tobias, after you brought this last time, because you really got my attention with the hospital issue. So I dug through their plan. I found out how the board was consisted of, how we got the board. that the county manager is over the director of it. So I got a little comfort with that, because my thing was, and I still think this, I think they should incorporate. And I think that's really should be your long-term goal, is working towards that, because then you have better taxation with representation. I looked through the plan, and kind of looking at what Commissioner Tobias is talking about, you basically kind of do a lot of these things anyways. I would be more apt to want to put a little more into the infrastructure portion, but I think you needed a defined infrastructure as well. I went back and found out through many of your meetings, you guys get in continuous arguments over the facade grants too, so those aren't my favorite as well. So I think these are the things that we need the MIRA board to start looking at and taking serious. I am going to want to wait as well till we have either Dante or Mr. Goodson on there. But I'm going to let them know that I'm going to be in great favor of rewriting this a little bit to be a little bit more defined. So, because you guys aren't incorporated, and it's a lot of funds coming in, and I think you need to kind of tighten up where you're going to spend them. So I think that's going to be what I'm going to want us to see. Commissioner Tobias, I think it was brilliant coming up with percentages, and I'm highly in favor of those. I think we need to get a real good definition on what they want to use and how they want to use it. Again, I think the bridge needs to stay in the mix, and I think we need to work on the stormwater plans, roads, because what that does is it takes the weight off of us as a county trying to pay those things. So I'm very highly in favor of infrastructure, stormwater projects, especially help the Indian River Lagoon and those things, that a lot of the things you've been doing. But I think it needs to get tightened a little bit, and part of it's my fault too, because I've really never dug into the program until Commissioner Tobias brought this up. And I think it needs some love and some tweaking. And I got to talk to you about this the other night, Wendy. And so I'm good with waiting for Mr. Goodson or Mr. Dante. But you need to be working on it now, because this is going to be a very ongoing thing that's going to come forward. Affordable housing, I'm not in favor of that as well. I think we need a good definition of this. I think I'm more apt to look at it as workforce housing. Because I'm on the affordable housing boards. And these boards, I keep asking, what's the definition of affordable housing? And they say, when you only have to spend 1 week's paycheck to cover your housing. And I grew up with it, always took half of my income to pay my rent or my housing, so I'm not sure how that definition is going to work. So I think we need to work on maybe higher density projects where the workforce can move in smaller square feet so it costs less. I don't know. I think there's so many things we really need to work through with this. But I think the goal is for everybody to be in a safe housing position by the time we're done with the funds we have coming in. I'm still very encouraged to hear what Commissioner Zonka brings forward with using some of the TDT funds to help to put money into that pot. But we got a lot of work to do in trying to define this as well of how we're going to do it. My goal will be to do our best to keep it out of government's hands as much as we can and get the public sector in being a little bit more competitive with this. So Commissioner Tobias, I think your percentage plans, actually, in my opinion, are kind of brilliant. And I think you guys need to work on that, but I know you guys are listening that are coming up. I think you need to make this a very hot topic and listen to the wisdom of the board up here and start working towards defining those things a little bit better moving forward.
All right. Dontavius, got a card.
Right on time. Dontavius Smith, Cocoa, Florida. I was at the meeting when Mr. Tobias referencing to last week with MIRA. First of all, I want to say Larry and Stephanie has done a great job. They have provided a very clear and succinct vision for MIRA and the organization. Yet I do agree with you guys. The issue that I have when I talk to citizens in Merritt Island is we don't want to become a city because we don't want to be taxed, but yet we want the freedom to have. So you can't have both. So that's the issue. And the other issue is, as well, Commissioner Tobias was saying, the affordable housing issue wasn't addressed by MIRA, which was an issue with me as well. Yes, the vision, like he's referenced again, you are a great chair. Mr. Lalo is a great chair, and he's done a great job in providing a vision. But yet the vision can't be clear and it can't be succinct unless we have a clear geographical infrastructure idea of how Merritt Island is going to implement with basis to affordable housing, because that's the crux of the land. So, but yeah, I agree completely with you guys. But in defense to them, they don't have any representation. And like you just said, representation without representation is kind of like a cliche, where it's like you have board members making decisions, but it's going in circles and it's not going anywhere because they don't have any representation. So I want to say that Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency has done a great job in developing a plan and a vision for Merritt Island and its infrastructure. Yes, but yes, they also have issues with wanting to become incorporated and not being taxed as a taxable municipality. Yes, and as well too to the affordable housing issue, which is why I think I would be a brilliant asset to whatever. I think I'll be a brilliant mind in helping implementing such an affordable housing issue, and as well as the infrastructure issues that Merritt Island and the 7 other cities within District 2 lack. So thank you very much, and yeah, you guys are very wise.
All right.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Tobias?
My motion only asks for staff to come back with a plan. I think at a minimum, we should do that. Whether we decide to punt down the road, it looks really bad. In fact, if this goes down, I'm going to ask the chair to send out a letter to all the CRAs asking for them to amend that 60 days till 120 days, because the reality of the situation is many of those folks have transitory boards right now. There are elections up with those folks where they'll have new people in there very shortly. But we seem like, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we're hypocrites, but goodness gracious, you have to act quickly, but you know, we're gonna take our time here. I mean, I never want to feel bad for cities, but they would have us on ground. So I think we need to take action, because MIRA did not. And to be clear, this is only asking staff to bring back a plan that has this outlined so we can make revisions and changes. But if we're not even willing to ask staff to bring us back something, at a minimum, we need to give an extension to all the cities, because I think we're going to hear something in board reports that they're going to ask for a little direction here, and I wouldn't be able to do it.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a room full of really intelligent people here, so I don't think I really need to say that bringing up hypocritical doesn't have anything to do with this, because the other boards aren't missing a valuable cog in the decision-making process where we are. But I just felt compelled to say that, just because. I don't have any objection to something that really commits us to nothing, just provides information. So if my fellow board members want to go along with that, I'm okay. But I just want everyone to know that regardless of how I feel about your ideas, whether pro or con, has nothing to do with my decision not to support it. It's just simply that D2 doesn't have representation. And for the record, I like your ideas. But again, it's all about representation.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, Commissioner Tobias, I don't have any problem with if you want the staff to start working on that, but I really want MIRA to hear us right now. And I think you guys need to go back to your next meeting and start working on some of these outlines and some suggestions with it. Again, Commissioner Tobias, you said these are up for conversation. I think more heavy of it needs to go into the infrastructure. It's larger infrastructure projects. And I think anything that's left over probably should go into infrastructure. And I think Parks is its own infrastructure, but I need a definition of what you guys consider infrastructure to make sure we're all on the same page. And as well, I need to know what's going to be affordable housing. Are we looking at workforce housing? I need a concept of what you're thinking, because honestly, you could actually do infrastructure and have it part of affordable. So I don't know. This really needs to get a better definition for my head, if you would. But Commissioner Tobias, I'm fine if you want to do that, but I really would like MIRA to listen on this and start working with a plan and get an idea of what you're hearing that we need to move forward with. And I agree with Commissioner Smith, you guys are smart. And so I think you can come up with a good plan that's good for your community, because I do believe in home rule, that's good for your community and helps alleviate the costs that we have to put in, that if we had that money just coming to us, we would use it for these projects. But I think you get to have first choice because you live there, but you have to understand the projects that we would use it for because you're not incorporated. So if you would take all that into consideration and start working on that, and then when we get a representative, we'll move forward with a vote. But I think that would greatly help this process.
Commissioner Tobias?
And Madam Chair, I'd like to keep the motion out there, and let me tell you the commitment I would make, that once we got a work product here, that we would give that work product. I wish MIRA had asked for this work product, because that's what I kind of hoped they were going to do, but they asked for far less. So my hope is that we get back this work product, we discuss our issues, and then we hand that work product over to MIRA to discuss. But I wouldn't make a vote. I wouldn't vote on this until, in the absence of a commissioner, we at least heard from MIRA. I just wanted something concrete down, and this would provide something concrete. So my goal on affordable housing, whether it's workforce housing, I want to give them as much flexibility as possible. The chair is the expert on this on the board, and this is her. So if she wanted to define it in a certain way, I'm okay with that. But we need a work product to start working from, and all this does is get us that work product. So we can work on it, and B, MIRA can work on it. That's all I'm asking for, and you have my commitment not to vote on this until MIRA's had an opportunity to sit down and discuss it.
And I'm just going to pipe in. I'm going to let you guys go back and forth long enough before I can actually get my 2 cents in. I actually can speak on this, which is wonderful. I love this idea. I think it's kind of smart because you probably were counting votes and figuring out that, we probably couldn't get some benefits from the use of this tax. So honestly, I think it's great. I think, Marcus, I appreciate you coming to my office and speaking with me, and you're very rational, very intelligent, and very passionate about MIRA, and I appreciate you. Like any board, you always have your board members that, I'm sure people say the same thing about us being a little nutty up here, but.
Beg your pardon.
But again, and I agree as far as affordable housing, and if MIRA ends up, banking it for a couple of years just so they can buy some land to develop into a project, I'm fine with that too. But I really like this idea. And as far as, not having representation on District 2, if we all made decisions specifically for our own district as an individual, then we wouldn't need 5 of us. It's not this board's fault that we had a commissioner resign. That is the commissioner's fault. He left office early for his own reasons. And, just as much as I wouldn't want to hold up somebody's project, somebody's permit, somebody's development, I don't think that we should sit by and not take opportunities. We're not doing anything sneaky. We're actually trying to do something good for MIRA. So I think that I really like this plan, and I'm happy to support you bringing something back. Commissioner Smith?
I agree with everything you said.
Smart man.
It's always good to agree with women because they're smarter than we are. I just wanted to succinctly put this in a nutshell. They are not incorporated. So the D2 commissioner is their mayor. They don't have a mayor. I think they should have a mayor sitting up here so that he or she can be part of the discussion. And I agree with an awful lot what you guys have already said.
Has MIRA ever asked you, or is anybody, because every pushback from the prior D2 commissioners, including Jim Barfield, including Brian Lober, when you say that Merritt Island should incorporate, they get very upset with that, and depending on which MIRA member you're speaking with as well, they don't like the idea either because it does mean more taxes for them.
Right.
Does it provide them more services? That's up for debate, but the District 2 commissioner, if he was the mayor of MIRA, then he would be the mayor of MIRA. He's a county commissioner tasked with the responsibility of the whole county. So why we disagree on that, that was that whole idea. Remember when we had board members come up for MIRA and District 2 just wanted to be the sole decider on that? I didn't agree with that because it comes back to the board for that reason, to make sure that there's not that isolated, because they are part of the county, whether they're MIRA or not.
Could I
So,
ask Christie something? Christie, is it possible for this commission to issue some kind of an edict to District 2 that we would give them 4 years or 10 years to incorporate, and that we were, at that point, going to sever our ties with them as the commission?
I'm afraid off the cuff, I can't give you an answer.
Well,
on
I figured
I'd
that,
have
but-
to do a little research.
I would like you to do
On
that.
the incorporation of a city.
I can't imagine that we can, but I think it would be something for us to consider.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Boy, that would be a good idea if we could help in that process, because I know it's not politically correct even for the MIRA board to say that, but it might help them out in that direction. Because Commissioner Zonka, you're right. You know, right now this is county, and you guys are kind of at the decision of this county commission board. If you incorporate it, you have a little bit better home rule at that time. It might mean more taxes, but it's more safety to your opinions. So I think with all wisdom, as Commissioner Zonka brought that up, that would be a very good thing for you to move forward with. So I think where we ended today, Commissioner Tobias, if I'm right, is that we're going to start working on a plan. You guys start working on a plan. We'll start see if we get some great mind work together. And I will be waiting on a vote for the plan until we have a District 2 commissioner, because if this was March, you might be in a little more trouble. But we've only got a couple more months, and I think that's just the righteous thing to do here. But please hear us on this. If you guys would start defining that again, I looked through your program. You're actually really pretty good on how you spend money. You've been pretty responsible. So I don't think this is going to be a lot of problem for you to get this together. And Commissioner Zonka, you said something very, very wise here too. So I think as we're doing this, that the aggregate, we need to put a time on the aggregate, that this is the percentages, because there might be a hold on certain projects for a few years. So I think that's something we need to consider too, is how long we want that time span to be, so you're kind of within these spending varieties. But you've already been doing it, so I think it won't be very hard for you all to do the paperwork.
And I could see, Commissioner Smith, your concern on the boundary changes. So I'm glad Commissioner Tobias came up with a clever, or at least an alternative way to make sure that some of the issues were being addressed that he wanted to see addressed. So it doesn't change their boundaries at all, and they still can take a little claim to the hospital. So it's not a bad thing. All right, I think we have a motion by Commissioner Tobias, and did you second it?
That was your motion, right, sir?
To bring it back?
That you're just going to bring back and.
Yes, Madam Chair, just to direct staff to bring back a plan with the guidelines set out so we could discuss it and provide it to MIRA as well to get their input.
Motion by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item J5.
Commissioners, J5 deals with commission salaries. The charter section 2.6 provides that on or before October 1st of every even-numbered year, the board has the opportunity to pass an ordinance to specify the salary for the next 2 years. That salary cannot be higher than the prior year's CPI or the average increase that employees have received. And that was 4.7% was the CPI, 3.3% was the average increase. So this is a request as to whether or not the board is interested in legislative intent, us bringing back for a hearing any changes to commissioner salaries. As I indicated, commissioner salaries, if you were in accordance with the state formula that's utilized for Brevard County, it would have been $96,895. The commission salary has been $58,308 since 1997. And so I'm just looking for board direction. Staff is looking for board direction as to whether or not to leave it as is or to bring forth a ordinance for the board's consideration.
All right, I have one card, Mr. Slusher. And then we'll go on to comments.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Slusher. I live in Titusville, Florida. It is my belief, and this is not a county level thing, that every elected official, from the president down to the city, should make the average income of the people they represent. That incentivizes our elected officials to go out into the communities and to invigorate and grow their communities so that their people have higher incomes. When any elected officials, whether it be Congress, Senate, state legislature, the president, if anyone is given the opportunity to set their own salary, it just leads to problems. So I encourage you to look at yourselves as having the possibility to set yourselves up to make the average income of Brevard County. In 2020, we just got the census on this. That was let's see, it was down here. It was $33,662. The average household income in this county was $59,359, with 2.7 people per house. Should one elected politician of anything, of Congress, of county, of city, should any elected politician make 2.7 times more than the average income of the county? I'm all for bettering our lives. That's why we own businesses, so that we can do great. But politics is not to get rich on. And again, this is a across-the-board thing, and it's not for just you. But I really want you to consider that when you think about this. Because if you set the board policy where it's the average income, then you don't have to worry about being biased. Because it's a simple number that the public can see. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any more cards. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like that idea. I'm going to run for mayor of Beverly Hills or Manal Plan, Florida, where the average income is $200,000 or $300,000. So, unfortunately, in areas in which there is large minority and disadvantaged populations, the representatives would be paid, much less than their counterparts. I like the idea, though. I'm not going to vote for a pay increase for myself while I'm in office. And if I did this, then I would have to do at a small percentage of what Commissioner Barfield did with, and I'm sure he hates his name being brought up again, is hand his entire salary back. We've had some great folks up here, and he always did that. The 27th Amendment, the most recent one to the United States Constitution, says no law varying the compensation of the service of senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have been intervened. While we are not obligated to follow this as it only affects U.S. senators and representatives, I think we should at least be as good as our dysfunctional Congress. With the help of the county attorney's office, I have draft language up here that would go on the 2024 ballot. I would support this as I would not benefit one penny from this. It reads, and I've passed out copies, effective January 1st, 2025, shall Article 2, Section 2.6 of the Brevard County Charter be replaced in its entirety to provide the salary and compensation of Brevard County Board of County Commissioners be determined at 90%. Again, that number can be changed of the set forth in Chapter 145 Florida State Statute for County Commissioners and amended from time to time, which provides a uniform method of compensation for county commissioners with similar duties across the state. I think that this would probably require unanimous. If you wanted to wait, this was just an alternative, something I would vote for, since I'm not going to vote for the other one, Madam Chair. Those are my thoughts.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. from the perspective of having this job for the last 8 years, I think that asking anyone to work for the same salary for 26 years, I guess that's how long it's been since there's been an increase, I don't think that's unreasonable to increase it by 2 or 3 or 5%. But I can understand the argument that you might be voting this for yourself because you guys would benefit if it passes, I guess, next year. So you would have roughly a year and 8 months or something like that for an increase. So if you feel that strongly about it, you can postpone the enactment of it until you leave office, or follow something along the lines of what Commissioner Tobias has mentioned. But I don't think it's unreasonable to increase the salaries of commissioners after 26 years. And you're certainly not going to be voting yourself an increase like a sitting congressman would that's already making $140,000 a year or something like that. This is minuscule. So that argument doesn't carry any water for me. But those are my random thoughts.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, if we were going to do this for the money, we should have done it right when we got elected.
Right.
To end up with a few $100s more. Again, we obviously don't do this for the pay on it, but it does consume time. And I want you to realize on this board, we have doctors, we have CPAs, we have professors and business owners. And there is an opportunity cost that we all have to give up to be able to come in here and serve. And it's all good and fine, but there is other things we could be doing. And my point on that is you kind of get what you pay for. And if we aren't able to get a little more competitive with this as well, I could be very concerned sometimes with some of the people that run for offices. And not that, God bless America, everybody should run, but you need people that can be able to take that money out of their families to be able to come in and serve the overall good of the family. So I'm going to support both of these, actually. I'm going to support doing what the county managers brought forward, and I'm also going to support this. And I do want to make the statement that a laborer is always worth its hire. And so when you have people doing jobs, I mean, again, this is, as Commissioner Tobias brought up with this, we are like almost 50% less than every other county that has the same position here. So again, I love the people I serve with. I love how frugal they are and how they kind they are at the same time. So I'm going to support both of these. And Commissioner Tobias, thanks for bringing this up. I think this will be really good to leave with the next set of commissioners moving forward when they get ready to run for offices again.
I think all great points. That's the downside of talking last. But Commissioner Tobias?
Madam Chair, just real briefly, the county attorney's office did a great job getting this to us, or to me, so quickly. I think she'd mentioned there's a lot more work that she would have to do to actually bring this back for an official vote. I would support it when she does that. This was just a quick draft, so I could give an alternative on it. So I'll vote for giving the county attorney more time to bring us back a formal document on that, but understand it would certainly have to come back to us. She turned this around extremely quickly and did a very good job at it. And again, I'm not married to this 90%. I just came up with that. If you want to change it, by all means, I'm certainly more than willing to do that. So I wanted to make that very clear and thank her for her quick work.
And I was just going to add, back when these salaries were reduced, the big advocate for it was an extremely wealthy commissioner who didn't depend on salary to feed his family when he was up here. But I think you brought up great points about, you want people that run for office that are able to either split their other job or commit the time to do it. So I don't have a problem with the increase. Obviously, this is not going to make a difference, significant difference for me. And I think we probably donate 10 times that a year just in charitable contributions from our family. But I think you've probably had commissioners up here in the past afraid to be a little bit courageous to say, after 25 years, I think we should at least try to keep up a little bit better. So I do like the language for this, so I'm willing to look at that because that won't impact us in the future. But yeah, I'm happy to support this.
Well, and to your point, we're not making the decision. We're giving the decision to the populace. They can vote on this. So it's not we're voting ourselves. And as you pointed out, it's pretty minuscule, but I just think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody up here donates money to different charities and causes in this county, far exceeding that. So it's not, that increase isn't going to cause somebody to say yes or no that I'm going to run for county commission. I just think it makes a statement that we're willing to move forward on this.
After 25 years, I think the position deserves it. Commissioner Pritchett?
I'd also like to note it's less than $1 an hour. It's like 20-something dollars a week. So it's, what we're talking about right here, guys, is nothing, but it'll help future commissions to get their wages up a little bit more competitively. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the county manager's proposal and to also to include that Commissioner Tobias get with the county attorney to bring this up to put on the ballot in a couple years to affect the future commissioners. Or do you want them separate?
Yeah, can we bifurcate
Oh,
those?
Commissioner Tobias, I thought I was getting you there.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Make a motion to approve the county manager's proposal.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3-1.
I'd like to make a motion, ma'am, to have Commissioner Tobias get with the county attorney, get this framed up so it can go on the ballot during the presidential election, so that hopefully we can change the charter and fix the county commissioners.
Commissioner Tobias?
We're past that certification, so,
Sorry,
yeah,
presidential.
sorry, 2024, yeah. And I don't need to be involved in this. I mean, she's got, I think, direction of the board, and she can bring
Right.
us back, so.
I'll bring
yeah,
it back.
And please get with her if you're not okay with that, since this doesn't impact any of us. If you want to make it 100%, if you want to make it 80%.
I would just say make it consistent with what other, because I think when you say 90, you're going to confuse the person that's voting on it, I believe. But that's just my opinion.
I'm open
I
to
figured we
whatever.
could talk about that. We've got a couple years to
Okay, I'm
discuss
open to
it.
whatever. Also, to have this, so the next commission doesn't have to vote on it, I think makes things a little bit cleaner from their perspective as well.
Right.
Good point.
All right.
So that motion.
Did we vote on that?
Second.
I'll second that motion as long as I'm out of it, as long as it's just the county attorney that's working on it.
Is that okay, Commissioner Pritchett?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, public comments? Don Tavius?
I know I'm so happy this morning, I'm sorry, but Dontavia Smith, Cocoa, Florida. Excuse me. Commissioner Zunkel and fellow commissioners, I want to apologize. I came here March 8th at the public meeting and spoke in the general comment section, or public comment section, about the behavior that was being displayed by former Commissioner Lober to you and the interactions, and I was kind of upset, and I came up here and spoke about it. And then I made a reference to the relationship you guys had with Florida Today and it not being good and not looking good, and I apologize. And now that I'm a person of interest in things in Brevard County, my name is in Florida Today now. I want to apologize because now I feel what y'all feel. On the outside looking in and being on the inside still looking in, I feel some kind of way about Florida Today too. Now, I'm a good guy. Now, you know, I'm civil. I respect this arena. I respect this forum to the utmost high degree. I have no background. I've never been to jail. I don't have multiple baby mamas. I don't have any of those cliches as a black man in my community. When Florida, now I'm going to address this publicly because I think I can. I'm not an elected official yet, so I can talk a little bit. Florida Today, when you write about me, put some respect on my name, please. Put some respect on my name. The tone y'all writing about me in these papers, and it's going global because you're not just talking about Brevard County. When you release it, it's worldwide, so my name is looking upon like, who are you? Now I'm gonna get specific because I can still talk like this. Ralph Chapuco, I know you're right there listening to this. When you write about me, sir, you don't know me. You just came from Arizona, sir. You don't know me. You here 6 months. You can't, there's no way you can say Brevard County don't know me, sir. My money, my time, my energy, my ingenuity, my love, my compassion is ingrained here. 37 years. You've been here 6 months, sir. You don't know me. But I suggest you do, sir, Google me. Matter of fact, Google hood bread. This colorful wardrobe you see me in is mine. I own it. I'm a 10-time best-selling author under the hood bread brand. So I suggest you Google that too. Matter of fact, buy all 10 of them while you're at it on Amazon.com. So therefore, with that being said, you're running with the mayor, Dontavius Tay Smith. Don't play with me or my name. Bye-bye.
Okay. Robert Kumkowski?
All right.
I didn't follow that.
How you going to follow that one?
You bet. Okay, so good morning, Chair Zonka. I'll start off with saying thank you and to Commissioner Tobias for, I heard that you guys put my appointment for the Affordable Housing Committee. I talk about opportunity cost and putting my time into something and you guys putting your time into something for your salary. Well, a volunteer committee that can't meet quorum, 75% of the people showing up, me coming to these meetings exhaustively, me going to District 4's office exhaustively asking, can I be appointed to a board for 8 months to a different advisory board just because I want to be a part of the community, and saying no because I'm a candidate. I withdrew my candidacy and still wanted to be a part of it. It wasn't my candidacy that was the issue. It was the fact that I wanted to be a part of Brevard County. And it seems like, just like Dontavia said, the people that have been here, we can't get a leg up, but it's not quoting anything about Florida Today. I think that in all honesty, we talk about affordable housing, and phone off, it's 30, 50, 80. So 30% extremely low, 50% low income, 80% moderate. I know the topics. I have a workable knowledge. Blight, NIMBYism, or the theory of not in my backyard. Infill, having a dilapidated land be taken by the county and fixed and then resold for people that are in low, extremely low or moderate income. Community Land Trust. I was one of the Charter Review Committee that exhaustively sat there and spoke over and over again on how I think there's an aspect of community land trust that could be worked on Proposal 24 that just passed through the Charter Review Commission. So talk about opportunity costs. What are the volunteer boards getting? I come here, never made a dime, and still want to be a part of these committees. So against my preconceived notions and the fact that during your reports you can make motions, because this was on the agenda, I'll ask that you guys make a motion to reconsider what you guys talked about in making a November appointment and take my name and reappoint that to the board and appoint that to the board, because that's something where I'm here and within 5 to 10 minutes of me hearing about this, that's my commitment. I flew from my house to my car, 10% over, I'm not gonna lie, on the speed limit. And I'm asking that you guys reconsider that and take that in consideration, that I've spent countless hours, and if you look on the email, you should see a support letter by Ms. Christy Lordy. I didn't see any other support letter. I've been in the June meetings, the Home Consortium. I've been talking to Alan Woolwich as of last week on Friday when I called them up and said, hey, is there anything else I can do for these appointments? So I ask you guys to move that and to appoint me to this board. Thank you.
All right, that's all the cards I have. I have a G card. That's all I have. Yes, of course. I mean, you want to speak under public comment?
Just under J5, or here, it'll only be 1 minute.
Because we're past J5.
Yeah, I know. So under public comments, regarding J5, there was no attached file to the item. So regarding the county manager's report, if you'd be so kind to upload that report so that people don't have to do a public records request to see that. It's just, following towards more accountability, transparency, and having those documents there. Thank you.
All you have to do is read the agenda. There is no report. It was consistent with what I put on there. It was consistent with what the charter provides, and all the information
is in the
that's
text.
relevant is on the agenda itself.
Yeah, I can read
So
it.
it was totally transparent.
Oh, I don't have any more public comment cards. I'll just, I'm not going to beg the board to appoint Mr. Kumkowski. I speak from just knowing his involvement and his research and his commitment to affordable housing. So I'll just fight for my ranking again if the board's interested. But if not, then I guess we'll hold off.
I think I would like time for you to come into my office and have a conversation with me, if you'd be good with it. Mr. Kumkowski? If you make an appointment to come sit down with me later. Okay.
All right. Moving on to board reports. Mr. Bate?
No report.
Ms. Varick?
No report.
Ms. Pritchett?
Yes, ma'am. I have a couple things this morning I'd like to discuss. The Parks and Recs background checks are getting ready to change October 1. And I've been talking to Miss Mary Ellen and a lot of the Park Rec partners, and we've got it 50-50 now, and the park budget seems to be doing pretty well with it. And I think right now, if we make it 100%, we might do some damage with their ability to minister to our children. And the other thing I'm concerned about is if they run out of funds, they might get a little bit complacent with not getting these checks as they're doing. So with y'all's permission or whatever y'all want to talk about, maybe we could bring this back soon. I'm going to propose we leave it where it's at right now for a while at the 50-50 and not make the other change currently. So I'll give y'all time to think about that. We got a little time. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the elections, we just had them and pretty good turnout for primary. I was very encouraged that the ones that fought a good fight, a good clean fight, they weren't angry, they're the ones that won. I'm always looking for people that can bring good leadership. You got to be strong, but I'm so over all the anger. I mean, we've got enough mess going on in the country. I'm looking for people that can bring good common sense things. They don't lie, and they can tell who they are. As soon as I get the slam pieces on other people of things that they're just not even true most of the time, and by the time I get them, I realize they're not true, and I'm just not voting for the person. If I get it, they're just out of the ball game for me. Again, so I'm looking for people that want to come and have a conversation, bring something good to the board, and not demand that it's their way or the highway, because I promise you, 99% of the time when you think you know something, you end up finding out you don't know it all. So I just want to throw that out there, but I'm very encouraged about the people that won the elections and us moving forward with the people that did get the votes. And I have great encouragement with our community and how they voted. I also want to say that we had great opportunity yesterday for Artemis to have a wonderful liftoff, but thank goodness in their wisdom they took a pause to be able to fix things. Miss Jill ended up at my office. We had an open house with her children, and it was nice to see a lot of the county staff. And over at our office, we had like 350 people show up in Titusville to be ready for the launch. It was a lot of fun, people from all over the country, from the state, and a lot of Brevard County people as well. So looking forward to that next launch. Supposedly it's Friday, and looking forward to a great, safe launch. And God bless America. This is the stuff that's fun that we get to participate in.
All right. Frank, you needed me to come back?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I believe that the board's letter to the various CRAs has had some impact in that I recently received an email from the president of the Space Coast Public City Managers Association indicating that they wanted to discuss the issue of affordable housing and asked if we would have anyone, if I had anyone that I could suggest could speak to them so that they could understand what the board's position was on the issue of affordable housing. So I wanted to bring that up in case there was any commissioner who would like to go to the next city managers luncheon where they would like to hear about that topic relative to CRAs and what the board's interest in seeing affordable housing move forward in. And so I wanted to discuss that during my board report and see if I could encourage any of you to come to that meeting.
I would love to send Commissioner Zonka.
Commissioner Tobias.
When is that meeting? Sorry. Wednesdays, Tuesdays?
September 23rd, I believe.
Is everybody looking at their calendars?
So if Commissioner Zonka agreed to it, I would love to send Commissioner Zonka.
And I have a leadership retreat with Health First from 8 to 5.
Oh, I have
So
to send
Commissioner
Commissioner Tabaya, yeah.
I have a wine tasting in Lisbon, Portugal, and then a
Portugal?
17 tasting food tour in Lisbon. So,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah, it's a little bit of
So
a,
this seems to me more important, so I think that,
Commissioner
well,
Smith.
then I'm off to Porto, you know, so I would be more than, I'm not making it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is
I have to be wrong.
this is my paying job. I have to.
Commissioner Smith, then.
Commissioner Smith, you want to speak on affordable housing? Get with staff and get with Ian, talk
Yeah.
about where the board is.
not really.
In all honesty, I saw Ian in action at MIRA, and though he only has a certain knowledge of the funding that comes in from the federal government, he was very effective, and MIRA faked excitement. I think he offers some ways that folks can leverage funds, and you know, if I was going to do it, I certainly would ask Ian to come with me. So if that takes a little bit of trepidation off of anyone, Ian was very, on the fly, was very, very effective. I saw him in action.
Yeah.
I think if we have Frank and Ian go together, that would be good. Are you good with that?
We were already planning to do that, but yeah, we'll move forward with that. We just wanted to make sure we gave the board the opportunity, if you were interested in doing it, that you could join us.
Oh, so they had already had a plan. You should have stopped us from all the chatter then, right?
I would have gone.
Yeah. Or you could always like move the meeting a week, but that's another story.
No kidding, I get to go to MIMS.
I'm only going to just,
Okay, Mr. Tabaya,
No report, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
no report, ma'am.
And I would just want to say, this is Christine's last meeting, correct? As our county attorney.
Zoning on Thursday.
Oh, okay. Well, our last official business meeting. Thank you for your help, and thank you for, everything you've done for us so far, and what you do behind the scenes that we don't see, and I'm glad you're not leaving us right away, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, can I say something then? I wasn't aware that this was your last meeting, and I want to tell you that I've been thoroughly impressed. And we're going to miss you. I'm going to miss you.
Yeah, Christy's at the zoning board meetings. This girl knows her stuff. She comes out with the data, and I'm always impressed with her.
I always appreciate somebody who doesn't look at the politics and just looks at the law.
Exactly.
And that's the best kind of county attorney you can have, or city attorney, or whatever. The best attorney is one that's for the people, but it's for the law. So I appreciate you. And I just want to commend our supervisor of election and her staff for a great election cycle. I know Commissioner Pritchett touched on it. We've had the pleasure of being a part of the canvassing board, which can mean several hours canvassing ballots, matching signatures. I'm impressed with not just their system, but with their auditing feature. They audit every ballot twice, which is awesome. I mean, I think it's just a testament to the commitment and integrity and the commitment to Brevard County that they were going to run a fair and honest election. So congratulations, Miss Lori Scott and her amazing staff for running a smooth show. They're still not done. I have, their canvassing board was meeting this morning. Hopefully that they're not stuck there too long today, but thank you, Supervisor, and that's all I have. Any further business, Commission? All right, seeing none, call this meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.